Just north of the 59th parallel in Norway is a town called Rjukan. Previous to environmental alterations, Rjukan would be in almost total darkness for about 6 months of the year. This is because Rjukan lies in a valley between two mountains, and due to its geographical location far north, Rjukan would be in the shadow of one of the mountainsides for about half of the year. I learned about Rjukan in my sophomore year of high school as I was delving into the realm of darkness in music. In 2017, June Lee posted interviews with Jacob Collier to YouTube. These interviews have gone on to be some of the most popular music theory lectures on the internet. And this is in large part due to one of Jacob's music theory concepts known as his super ultra hyper mega meta Lydian scale. Essentially, the super ultra hyper mega meta Lydian scale uses the Lydian mode of the major scale which has a raised fourth degree, making it brighter. The concept of brightness or darkness in music is a visual metaphor that we use to describe certain characteristics of sound or of a scale. It's hard to exactly define brightness in music, but it is generally accepted that the major scale is very bright, but even brighter than that is the Lydian mode, because it has a raised degree. Now, the Lydian mode is the brightest of the naturally occurring modes in the major scale. Collier combines this concept of brightness in modes with the concept of brightness in the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is based on taking a note, such as C, and raising it up a fifth. Now, if you take the key signature of C major, it has no sharps, no flats. But if you take the key signature of G major, a fifth above C, it has one sharp. Now, if you take another fifth above G, you get D. D major has two sharps, F sharp and C sharp, whereas G only has F sharp. Now, as you continue around the circle of fifths, adding a sharp at every step, you get brighter with each new key. Therefore, Jacob's super ultra hyper mega meta Lydian scale gets brighter as it goes around. So if we start on, for example, C, we hit that sharp 4. Once we get to the fifth, we now recontextualize this fifth note as the new tonic. So, for example, this is G. Now we take this G and we pretend that that is a tonic. Then we play G Lydian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once we get to the fifth of G Lydian, we now recontextualize that D as the new tonic. And each time we play a Lydian scale up a fifth from the previous Lydian scale, continuously getting brighter and brighter, continuously adding sharps. So in the first step of this super ultra hyper mega meta Lydian scale, where I started on C, the first section only has one sharp, F sharp. But then, as we go G, A, B, C sharp, D, we've now added another sharp. And then continuing forward, we add a G sharp, D sharp, and so on, adding sharps going around the circle of fifths, getting brighter and brighter with each step. Inspired by this concept of continual brightness, I thought, well, what if the scale got darker instead of brighter? So I took the darkest mode of the major scale instead of the brightest. This happens to be Locrian. In comparison to its major counterpart, the Locrian mode has a lowered second, third, has a regular perfect fourth, but a lowered fifth, sixth, and a lowered seventh. So nearly every note of the Locrian mode is flat in comparison to its major counterpart. So I took this and combined it with the concept of the circle of fourths, or modulating up a fourth or down a fifth, depending on how you look at it. And so I thought, well, what if I took Locrian mode and played it ascending, and every fourth note, and recontextualized that as the new tonic? Basically what Jacob did, but in reverse. So this would sound something like this. So I start with C Locrian. On the fourth note, I recontextualize to F Locrian. Then B flat Locrian. Then E flat Locrian. A flat. D flat, and so on and so forth, getting darker and darker as it ascends. I named this scale the Rjukan Scale after learning about the town in Norway. So now at this point, we have to ask the question, well, what do we do with it? Because a scale is only as good as its application, so how do we apply it? Well, I've already included several examples of how I applied it, either by switching chords around the circle of fourths, or playing a melody simply in the set notes designated by where I choose the starting note of my Rjukan scale. There are many other possible applications too, like, well, what if you played a descending Locrian mode? Say I start on this C. And once I hit the F, descending, so descending down a fifth, I now contextualize that and play F Locrian. So that's another thing you could do. And it would create an entirely new set of notes, which is different from what I played initially. You could continue on with these experiments and try composing with them. My purpose in making this video was just to explain the concept, get it out into the world, and perhaps I will make a full composition with it sometime in the future. Obviously, I encourage composition with this scale, so go ahead, compose with it, try something, and I will do the same. So there it is, the Rjukan scale. Have fun.